How can you do all that needs done in life and still pursue your desire to learn French or the guitar or grow a plant or make art? You can't put a fiddle under your pillow and wake up playing it, though how cool would that be? But one thing we can do, no matter how chaotic and overwhelming life can be, is know that every tiny small motion in the direction of those endeavors really do matter. And not only that, they add up over time with great momentum. Join me, Fain Barralon, as I interview painters and gardeners, designers and musicians, photographers and cooks, creative livers of any kind, who have somehow, in the middle of it all, continued on their creative paths, no matter what. Hello, sweet folks. Today's episode is a special one in that I'm interviewing my very own husband. Haha! We met a little over 10 years ago when I was traveling through France with my banjo, and the rest is history. He's a great believer in living a creative life, and I sure hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure to listen all the way to the end to hear Géraud singing one of his beautiful songs of French poetry. This is Fain House Radio, and I'm so glad you're here.
My name is Géraud Barralon. I like playing music and singing and building houses. And there's a lot of other things that I like to do, but...
Did you like making things when you were a kid?
I don't remember really liking making things, but I remember making things. We had to make things anyway. We had to entertain ourselves way more than the new generations now. And I remember, there is one thing, I remember liking building a igloo. I remember enjoying that. So yeah, a lot of pleasure just building things in general. So yeah, probably. But kids are not self-reflecting when they're doing it, right?
I remember you telling a story of having a really great time rolling tires down the hill with your siblings.
Yeah, it was fun. Making trouble, yeah. Having fun making trouble, yeah.
You're part of a family of musicians on both sides. So the family you married into here in the US, we all play music. The family that you come from all play music.
Mm-hmm.
So who helped you pick up your first instrument?
Well, my mother is the one who bought me the first guitar, and I believe gave me the first lesson too. I think I was six years old. She was trying to make sure that we would have musical knowledge a little bit, because I think she was feeling bad about not knowing much about music. So she wanted to make sure we would do better.
Did you ask to play, or did she kind of sit you down, and when did it start to make you feel like, I want to do this and I'm going to find help to keep learning?
Well, that's something else. That's very different, but I don't remember asking. I remember being on a chair with a guitar, so that's probably what happened. She probably put me on that chair with the guitar, and that's probably what happened. It took me a very long time, actually, to really acknowledge the fact that that was something I really wanted to do. Even if I did it, even when I was a teenager, I was playing music, and after I kept playing. But when I really decided to be a musician, it was after I was 20 years old.
Did you reach out to have people around you help you, or did you take lessons? What did you do to make it happen?
I already had lessons before that. And so I had the basic knowledge in music theory, and even on guitar, bass, I had the basics to just try to play. When I was 20, 25, what I did is that I surrounded myself, and I ended up being surrounded by musicians.
Well, now part of what you do, you play multiple instruments, but a big part of it is singing. And you're from France, so you're singing in French. And some of them are old poems and you're adding your own music, or some of them are just traditional ones that you've learned. Why do you like to sing?
Well, I'm not sure exactly if that's... this is not a short answer. It took me a long time to reach the place where you can enjoy singing and you can share it with people because it's enjoyable. You can enjoy singing and it's going to sound awful. Or you can enjoy singing and listen to it and think that it's awful, so you don't want to share it. So it's very, very tricky, and singing is very intimate. So why I enjoy singing? There's a lot to it. I witnessed some people doing magical things with singing. To see people on stage changing people's life by singing. It's easier to do it with songs than with an instrument. It's just more direct, I guess. The same way that you can know somebody better by just looking in his or her eyes, than looking at a picture. I don't know if that's a right analogy, but so there is a lot of power to it. I witnessed some people doing it, and that was inspiring. But I was already singing at that time, and this is something from when I was a kid. I remember listening to singers on those old recordings. No, when I was like 7 or 8, I was already very drawn to it. So I'm not sure why I like singing.
Maybe it's as simple as it feels right and good to you.
Yeah, that's the thing where when things are right, if you sing something that you like, or at least my experience is such, like if I find a song that I want to sing, and once I worked on it enough and I can reach a place where it's enjoyable, it does feel really good. And when you're in that place, that's where you can share it with people, and that's even more enjoyable too. Like if you can sing a song and make people shiver or cry or laugh, or this is very powerful.
Well, you sing solo, and then also sometimes you sing with your brother Paco. And when you were growing up
Mhm.
together and even into your 20s, you didn't sing together. I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how that came to be.
I had a bad accident, falling from a roof, and I broke several bones, ended up on a wheelchair temporarily. And my brother came and visited at that time. I think he came like maybe 2 weeks after. We played a gig, you and I, and because that thing was scheduled when I had the accident, so we did it. It was a Valentine Day, but my brother showed up just after that, and I guess the experience that I had on a wheelchair singing songs, because that's all I could do most of it. I mean, I could barely play a chord on a guitar, so but there was so much pleasure singing songs and being in the music, even being on a wheelchair and all those broken bones and stuff. The pain would basically go away. I remember after that Valentine gig that we played, I realized that my pain was gone while we were doing it. So when Paco came, I think your father found us a gig the day after Paco showed up. Maybe we had like 1 or 2 days to come up with something.
And your
Couldn't
wrist
do.
was broken, so you couldn't
Yeah.
play the guitar.
Everything was broken, and we were supposed to play music, and I could sing still. So I remember showing him some songs. All the songs that I used to work on, he was not familiar with at all. And it's not necessarily, at that time it was like very solo stuff, it's like poetry with one guitar. It's barely any music behind. So I ended up, starting singing traditional songs, very old songs that I knew he would be familiar with. And as soon as I did that, I think it was à la Clairefontaine, he just jumped on it, and he had like the voice, like at the third, he was able to do harmony, like very naturally. That was shocking because we had no idea that we could do that.
Well, one thing that I think is beautiful about the story is it was such an intense time for us, and it put you in a situation of more extreme limitation. And the fact that you started to sing together with your brother.
I think I understand what you're trying to say. Is that like the beauty of it is that it's very, very challenging. But if you keep pushing, there is something beautiful who's gonna eventually happen. I think I understand what you're saying is that just at that moment, even in that challenging time, we were willing to play music.
Right. How does living in a different country than your home country impact your creative process and maybe just your life?
Actually, the way I can see it impacted is just because there is two places that I know, there is two groups of people that I know. There is basically more opportunities. There is more things we can do, and we've been bringing musicians from America to Europe through projects, and I've been bringing French musicians in America through projects, and so I just have more people and places to play with.
What's your favorite thing about France? And then what's your favorite thing about the US? I know that's not an easy question to answer, maybe.
In France, they have that special treatment for musicians called intermittence. But it goes both ways. There's a lot of good things to it because it helps musicians to feed themselves. Basically, the deal is that if they play 48 gigs in 10 months, they're going to have money every day, like €50 every day for the next 10 months or 12 months. It depends. They keep changing the rules anyway. So there is that thing. It's interesting, it's attractive, and it's not in US at all. It's not happening. But I don't know if it's that good because now instead of focusing on their music, they're chasing money. Because if they don't do those 48 gigs in that certain amount of time, well, they lose that treatment. So it's just, I don't know. So basically, if we just, let's take the big picture. The big picture is that there is more freedom in America. United States is still the land of the free, or it's a reality. There is more freedom here. I mean, also in terms of creativity, people are more free to do what they want to do. It's easier for people in America to do what they want to do. That would be a big one. Favorite things in France, that ability. And maybe it's just for southern France, actually, because I'm from southern France, so I'm not even sure that thing is actually happening in the north, okay? But one of my favorite is just the ability to either stay around the table or stay, just talk, and you can spend hours. I can spend hours with any of my friends. We are just going to spend like 5 hours sitting and talking, I think that's something that I really enjoy there.
For the last year, you spent a lot of time organizing 2 big projects. One is bringing your brother's gypsy jazz band from France. They're mostly located in Lyon, and bringing them to our area to perform in the Southeast. And then you also have been organizing the Bal Itinerant, which is a traveling dance tour in France. And you also teach sometimes. And one of your most favorite things is playing for dancers.
Yes.
So I just wanted to ask you, what does it mean to you to share music and song with others? What I'm trying to say is that list of projects and things that you do and love to do are connected with sharing with other people. So it's different than sitting on your back porch by yourself singing songs because it feels good to you. These are all examples of kind of putting it out in the world and sharing with others.
It's almost the same thing that why I'm singing. I think it's something I never really question because I don't think we should question it, actually. I think music should be shared. To me, it always made me a little bit sad when somebody would have like a potential for music, but would not allow, if that person has a potential for music and doesn't share it. To me, it's always a little bit of a sad feeling. And in the same time, I'm working on accepting the idea that some people need to play or sing songs or play music by themselves in their bedroom, and that's as good as it gets, and there is no point pushing for more. I understand that, but it took me a long time to accept that some people don't want to be pushed. But to me, sharing music and songs is the meaning of music and songs. But that's personal. Some people would just kill themselves only with music and songs, But they're going to pick up, most of those people are going to pick up music and songs somewhere else too. So at some point it's been shared. If you practice music enough that you can enjoy it and share that enjoyment, you should do it. I think you should do it. There's the movie Into the Wild. It's not a perfect movie, but it's a true story. And there is something I remember I picked up. The story is that the guy died in a bus in Alaska. He was on a quest. In the diary, when they read it at the end, the lesson of his life was like, what's the point of pursuing happiness if you can't share it? And that's the exact same thing. Like if you work hard enough to be able to sing a song decently and enjoy it and share that enjoyment, I think the responsibility who comes after is to share it with people because they might enjoy it too. And if all those people together enjoy the same thing at the same time, it's powerful, very powerful. It is the same thing that when the French people eat the same food at the same time. This is the same thing. It makes them one. Like, it makes them together to a level I don't think you can beat that. Song and music are, yeah, it's food, spiritual food.
Nice. I like that. What has it meant to you to have a partner who not only shares your love for music and dance, but who also plays and performs and understands the life of a musician?
Well, it means that I will probably be more prone to be my own self, because there is a chance that I'll be understood.
So you're glad about it?
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's the question. Huh? Well, yeah, I'm glad that I'm married with somebody who's like okay with being with a poor musician, even after 10 years of marriage. That's pretty good.
I guess I'm just thinking about people in general in partnerships. I think
Yeah.
that it helps our creative lives when we're around. It doesn't have to be our partner, but when we're around people who understand that, and want to support us in it.
I think it's good to keep in mind that it's actually more than just, oh yeah, it's cool, like the other one can understand me. It's way more than that, actually. It's very important. And that's something that a friend of mine that Yves, in France, just before we got married, I had my bachelor party. And my friends came, and I remember asking them advice about marriage. And I remember Yves telling me, well, there is one thing I can tell you is that it's very important to just support your partner in any project in general, like 100%. No, no resistance, no, like whatever they want to do, you have to be okay with it. So that's what it is, and it's big, it's deep, and if people don't have that, yeah, it's probably very painful.
Well, it's a real dedication because it's not always easy. It might be encouraging the project over getting certain finances or that kind of thing.
Yeah, you have to pick your partner wisely.
You have recorded 2 CDs. Could you tell us about both of them?
I recorded 2 French poetry CDs. But there is more. I mean, there is one with Polo and Nadine, all-time music. There is 2 with the traveling dance. The 2 French poetry one, the first one is called Comment faire du feu avec ce qu'il reste? How to make fire with what's left. The title was just inspired by where the tradition of French poetry is right now is a little bit down right now. Poetry in general doesn't belong with business. I mean, or capitalism, I should say. Race for profits and all those notions don't go along with poetry. So in France, probably a lot of other places too, both of those discs actually are kind of the same idea. There is the same idea behind. It's about picking up old poetry and adding music to it sometimes, or just performing old songs and bringing also new songs and mixing it all together. And that's why the title was How to Make Fire with What's Left. Like, you have to, at some point, you have to pick up what's left and do something with it. The other one was in 2019. It's called La Trace du Poète, and it means the poet's path. And it was inspired by one of my mentor, Jacques Bertin. I took a workshop with him. He had an interview, and he was saying something very meaningful to me, and it was like in the 70s, he was famous, and he would go on radio and TV shows, and early 80s, that's when the industry shifted to chasing profit. And they kicked him out, and because he was not bankable enough. And he was talking about that. And he said, well, yeah, for the last 15, 20 years, maybe I've been crossing the desert, It was like, he's been on his own for a long time in the desert. There is nothing else. But he was making a very good point. He was making the point that you don't leave a good path, visible path that people can follow if you're in a crowded place. You leave a visible path that people can follow in the desert. So I like that idea, and I picked it up, and that's the name of the CD.
One thing that a lot of people don't know about it is that we're building a house, and
That's
it
right.
includes a root cellar that goes off the main downstairs room. So you had the idea
Yes.
to record in the root cellar. And so
Yeah.
you lined it with carpet and you had a really nice microphone and then sent it away to be mastered
Yeah.
professionally. And it turned out really, really great. And I think it's a really good example of working with what, we had at the time. It's also an example of like the power of accumulation, which I think you're really, really, really good at. When we first met, you didn't really play the fiddle and you slowly played a little bit regularly. And over the years, it adds up and now you play the
Yeah.
fiddle. And for the songs, you're always kind of singing and practicing and trying to get yourself ready. And you're really good at kind of folding it in because we live in a one room location with our two small boys. And so it's not easy this is while we're building our house. So it won't be like this forever. But, you successfully fold these little bits into daily life in a way that even during challenging times, you still were able to come out with these beautiful CDs. I love them. What do you think about the power of the philosophy of the power of accumulation?
It's real. It's a real thing, and it's connected to discipline. I know those days sometimes people have a bad connotation with discipline. Discipline is being overlooked or underlooked. I don't know exactly the right word actually, but I think we lost the sense of discipline that we should have. Like when I'm saying discipline is just, if you look at the definition of discipline, it's knowing the consequences if you don't do the things that are supposed to be done. So this is the same thing, same idea. Like if I don't practice, I'm not going to get better. That's the consequence. At some point, if you want to get better, you just practice. I know it sounds simple, and it's actually always, the simpler, the harder, actually. It's always hard to do the simple thing. Power of accumulation. You don't need to practice 8 hours a day. You don't want to practice 8 hours a day. Nobody wants to do it. But if you have 15 minutes, and if you take those 15 minutes and use it every day, yes, you will have positive consequences.
We are co-teaching a slow jam workshop coming up soon in early May. What do you hope students will get out of that workshop?
First of all, I hope that a lot of people are not going to be too shy to try, first of all. But once they try, I hope that those people who might be shy at first are going to find strength in themselves at some point to do the thing that they really want to do. So if we can inspire like some of those students, that's great. I mean, even just one, even if one person changes his or her life after that, that's a big thing. I just hope that we can just transmit that.
I'm really looking forward to doing that with you. And I agree. The idea is to create like a fun and friendly atmosphere for demystifying some of how intimidating joining a jam session can feel. So we'll see how it goes. What do you hope our two boys grow up knowing about pursuing their own creative paths?
I think they're already doing it. Like yesterday, or was it 2 days ago, I was cleaning the garage and I decided to clear a space for them. So I took them at some point and showed them the spot, and I was like, here's your bench, you can do project if you want. Like this is your spot, you can use it. There's few tools that you can have and few rules to follow, but that's it. And as soon as I did that, Henry was like, okay, let's do it. And he was like getting ready to do something. So I'm not too worried about that. I think what worries me would be more the relationship with technology. It's a wonderful tool, but it's also killing creativity, really. Because like I said at the beginning, like when you have to do something with yourself, because if you don't do something, it is very boring and nothing is happening, and you don't have a computer to watch, you're going to come up with something. And that's creativity right there. I just hope that we can teach them to learn to handle technology the right way, like a tool. Like we said at the beginning also, you can be creative doing anything. So it really doesn't matter. It's more of a mindset who requires a free mindset. Like you need to feel free in your spirit to allow yourself to try things, to do whatever comes up, I just want to make sure they will end up doing the thing they are meant to do.
just them knowing it's totally okay to love what they love and go do what they want to try to do. I just know that in some situations, kids don't
Well,
feel heard and encouraged.
we're not the kind of parents who are going to say no if the one of our child is like, oh, I want to be a musician or an actor or a dancer or a photographer or whatever. I mean, I don't think I'll be the father who's like, oh no, you should not do that. You should be a banker. And we have a lot of room for offering them a big picture of like the potential that they have and the millions of things that they can try. It might be overwhelming actually at some point, and then we'll see.
What is filling up your inspiration cup these days?
Anything new actually. Something new that's going to excite me. This is inspiration right there, I think. Every musical project like the swing tour next week and the traveling dance, all those projects are always, it's like it's almost feeding itself also. So my cup is pretty full actually. Right now I'm excited about the swing tour, and so I'm learning new songs. It feeds itself. If you initiate a project or something, it's gonna have consequences, and all those consequences actually, some of them are gonna come back at you with inspiration actually, and it's gonna, oh, now you have to learn those songs. So there's different level of inspiration too. I think also the way we can be inspired changes over time, for sure. I mean, I notice a big difference. Like when I was 20, I would try to write as much as possible. I wrote a lot between my 18 and 25th year. That's where I wrote most of the songs or poems that I wrote. And I'm not writing anymore, actually. But at that time, I remember being inspired by just writing. And now now it's something else. Now it's new things, actually. New material, new songs, new artists, like new singers, people that I haven't listened to, that I should have listened to before. I think, there's two things. There's what's new, so that's inspiration, and there's also something else. It's all the things that I haven't done yet and that have been in my mind for a long time. That's also inspiration right there. I'm trying to pay attention to that.
Do you have any last words of encouragement for anyone and everyone out there just doing the best they can to fold creativity into their daily lives?
If you want to fulfill or at least acknowledge your inspiration while having children and a family life, and I think it's very important to be disciplined, and I think it's very important that your partner is with you, supporting you doing it. And kids or no kids, I think it's very important to have your life in order, to make sure you can actually make space for those inspiration. If your life is not in order, it's going to be harder. Never give up. Very stubborn. You have to be very stubborn also. You can't be too nice either. I mean, we're talking about somebody who's living with other people, right? You can't, if you're too nice, you're going to always say yes to what people ask you to do, or you're going to always like think about what other people are thinking or expecting from you. And it's true that you have to be a little bit self-centered also. And it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's very important. If those inspirations are real, if the need to work on it is real, it's very important to work on it. It's actually the only way for, if I talk about myself, it'd be the only way for me to be myself. And so it makes me stronger, and then I can help people around me better, actually. Yeah, it makes me a better version of myself, and then I can help people that I love better. That's the path. If you don't go that way, you go the other way. The other way is like, well, okay, you're going to be frustrated. Is it going to make you a better version of yourself? No, it's not. This is not going to work. So yeah, the advice to make it short would be like, if you want to be a better version of yourself, you have to accept the fact that you have to be self-centered a little bit, and create a discipline around it. But it's also for the love of others. We have that idea that self-centered is selfishness. It's like, oh, you're like thinking about yourself too much and stuff. And it's true, there is a fine line You can get lost very easy too. Like you want to follow your artistic life, you can. Some people are doing it 200%. They have horrible family life. So it's a very fine line. We're talking about having a decent family life and a decent spiritual life in a way, because creativity is also very spiritual. So if you want to do those two together, at some point you have to accept to be a little bit self-centered, because that's what you need.
Well, one way to say it is like focus on yourself.
Yeah, but it's a little bit more specific even. It's like when to focus on yourself. How you're going to focus on yourself, how you're going to do it, when you're going to do it. Oh, okay, I'm going to do it from that moment to that moment, boom. And then when I pick up the kids, I'm going to focus on the kids. I mean, once again, it's related to discipline. It's about knowing when you can take care of yourself and when you have to take care of others. If that thing can be very clear, and if everybody's happy with it, that's success right there.
En premier, sortir d'un antre, d'une caverne, d'un ventre, percer le premier bouton, vider le premier abcès, ouvrir le premier accès, et te voilà rejeton. Fendre la première cosse sur le chemin des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Et vient l'âge de la pierre, la peau s'arrache à la terre. Et vient l'âge des cailloux, des rougis sans hématome. Voilà, c'est le second homme que t'écris sur tes genoux. C'est l'âge de la cabosse sur le chemin. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Le temps te métamorphose, fait rougir tes échymoses, sans être tombé sans rien. Là c'est des ballons qui poussent, des rondeurs, des pamplemousses. L'arnica n'y pourra rien. 12 ans l'a fait carabosse sur le chemin. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Comme au tableau de l'enfance, sans doute que l'existence te réserve quelques coups. C'est des bosses indicibles, poussant dedans, invisibles, écrites sans dessus-dessous, s'effaçant d'un coup de brosse sur le chemin. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Enfin c'est pas un mystère, tu finiras dans la terre, sous l'épiderme d'un champ. Petit bouton ridicule, petit pâté monticule, ça presse pas, il y a le temps de prendre le coup de crosse sur le chemin. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Bonne chance, bonne route, tes blessures à fond des croûtes. Et peut-être qu'à ton tour, tu prendras la cloque quand te viendra le dos devant d'une piqûre d'amour, d'une piqûre de gosse sur le chemin. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main. Des bosses sur le chemin. Tiens-lui la main.
like to be in touch, email me at afainhouse@gmail.com. If you would like to watch these interviews in video form and are curious about the happenings of my little business called Fain House, where I paint and make art prints and gift cards from my watercolor originals, I'd love for you to sign up for my email list. If this all sounds fun to you, go to your web browser and type bit.ly/fainhouse to sign up. This is not a weekly newsletter, but rather a list of folks who are interested in hearing from me time to time. You can find this link, as well as links for each person I interview, in the show notes of each episode. I'm Fain Barralon. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll leave you with a quote for the day. Creativity is contagious. Pass it on. Albert Einstein.